right, I think I am live, which is nice. Let me get organized here. Let me see if I can move things around a little bit. All right. I just got a text from Herman. He's not involved in this at all. That's fine. Okay. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I think I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. I've got a couple new modules I want to play with, and I think I'm just going to sort of build a patch. As you can see, I don't have anything pre-patched normally. I start something beforehand just to make sure whatever I do doesn't suck. I'm completely confident that if this sucks, it sucks. I don't think it's a big deal. I think tonight's really just a matter of me just having a little bit of fun. A couple of new modules. Got some blue ones here. There's a pink one up here because that's the colors that I printed them out. And let's talk about them a little bit, and let's make some weird sounds. I think this, talking about them first, the blue modules, these are the ones I'm going to focus on because these are the ones right now I'm most excited about. This was, these are channel drivers, and what they are really are parametric EQs with some clipping and overdrive potential. So it's sort of an interesting little circuit. I thought it would be fun to play with. So Herman has been talking something up like this for quite a while. He uses an old sort of vintage 70s mixer when we perform to get these types of sounds. So I thought, or he thought, I should put it together and come up with a module that does that sort of thing. So I kind of DIY'd these together. They the panels are clear acrylic that I printed out a label that's sticking underneath. I did have the PCBs made, but I put these together myself at the shop over the last couple days. Yeah, so let's see what they sound like. I think I'm going to start with like a kick drum. So let me get my sequencer working here. And let's get a kick drum going. We're just going to take the envelope out because we're going to use the low pass gate kick. We're just going to ping the low pass gate. So we're going to go out of the low pass gate into the filter. Now this is the Flurler module. This is a 6 HP filter we did way back when we were doing the monthly modules. This is nice because it is the Pittsburgh filter. It's just in 6 HP, so it fits. All right, so that's quite a kick drum. Let's put it on 1, make it a little easier. Try not to overdrive the live stream. Hey Yotis, welcome. Good to be back. Good to chat with you. Is this module in the future? Is it just a DIY thing for me? It's probably right now in its standalone form. It's probably just a DIY module. I don't expect that we will make this as a standalone module, mostly because it doesn't have any CV. I don't know if the world is ready for eurorack modules that don't have voltage control. Unfortunately, there's really nothing in it to control with CV, so it doesn't really make sense to kind of duct tape a VCA in there or anything. It kind of is what it is. That said, what it does, it's really good at, and I think it sounds really good, but I'm sure it'll make its way into something down the line. but as a standalone module, I'm not certain, unless, you know, the world rises up and says they desperately need one, but I can't imagine that's going to be the case. But that said, it does sound super good. I do plan on, I made 5 PCBs. There was obviously, you know, every time we make the first batch of anything, there's going to be a mistake on it. So I'm going to do another run. I think I'm going to do 20, and they're just going to hand them out to, you know, everybody at the shop. They can build their own, and then I'll have some to hand to friends. Herman's obviously going to get a few of them. So let's patch it in and see what it sounds like. You can see right away the LEDs here. It's overdriving already. So we'll pull it back. Turn the output up. Now this is basically the same signal that we had before. I could drop the, it works like a channel strip. There's a gain. This would be your preamp gain, and then there's your output level, and then your parametric EQ here. You have a high shelf, and then you have a parametric band and a parametric low. So we'll turn the output gain down, turn up the drive, and you can hear the drive kick in. Boy, it sounds good. And that's even before EQ. So the way it works is there's we use this circuit sort of all over the place to add a little bit of fuzz to things. It's sort of a soft clipping circuit that Michael came up with. So that circuit is at the output of the preamp, and then there's a second one at the output of the module. So if you don't overdrive it with the preamp, you can then overdrive it with the EQ if you want. So an example of that would be, this is the overdrive, obviously, from the preamp. We could dial that back, and then we can add the low. And now we're overdriving it with the EQ using the second stage of the drive. Now I could obviously use both. I think that just sounds really good. Then the mid is nice. Now, obviously, those are sort of extremes. That the beauty of this thing is sort of the subtleties that you can add here and there. But I think it sounds really, really good. So the drive circuit is obviously, you know, that's a Pittsburgh Modular circuit that we've used in a lot of our modules over the years. We usually use it in a very subtle way to limit feedback loops and limit resonance, so that resonance doesn't distort. It simply sort of fuzzes out, so to speak, if it gets too out of control. But in this situation, and the same with the mixing console, in the preamp there, it's the same circuit. We've allowed it to really push really hard. So in the mixing console, I think that's 15 times gain, and it'll slam right at about 5.2 volts. So it's gonna give you some really nice of that fuzzy drive sound. This one, I don't have the preamp as aggressive, so I think the preamp is going to give you 6.3 times gain, but that's still enough to push it and make it nice. I didn't want to go too far, because then you kind of lose resolution in the drive knob itself if it's so overblown all the time. So I think that kind of sounds nice. And like I said, this is just something that Herman mentioned would be super cool, because this is part of his, something like this is sort of part of his live rig. And given the opportunity to DIY something, it was kind of fun, because it gives me a new module to play with. And I'm sure it will make its way into something that we're working on down the road. But like I said, as a standalone module, I'm not sure it really makes a ton of sense. But it is fun to play with. Oh, the EQ section is based on the EQ of the old 1970s Tascam M30 mixer, which I'm a big fan of. I have one at the shop, and I just think the EQ just adds some warmth. It adds something to the sound that I thought that was a nice base for this sort of idea of overdrive that we had, and I think it turned out really well. So let's let this kick sort of go, and maybe patch in some hi-hat sounds or something here. And again, we'll just take the envelope out of the percussion sequencer, and we will go into, we'll just take basically a trigger out of that and go into our mod tools here and go into the function generator section at the top. I always like to use the function generator section for hi-hats because it allows me to voltage control the envelope, which is super nice. And I think we need to steal a VCA from something here. Let's take, I need a longer cable. I think I've assembled a system that doesn't have standalone VCAs in it. That's okay. I think we'll use this to trigger the dynamic impulse filter. We'll just use that in VCA mode, and that'll work just fine. We can come out of that. Let's see what hi-hats sound like through this thing. So we'll take noise into a binary filter, which we'll put in high pass mode. Just patch it into the high output here. And we will go into our dynamic impulse filter, which is in VCA mode. Switch to channel 2 on the sequencer. Tap in some randomness and see where we're at here. If I did that, it may make a sound. I don't know, we'll see. All right, there's our hi-hat sound. Let's see. So we can add some high shelf to that, and we can use our mid EQ here to add some 10K. The mid sweep goes from 1K to 10K. The low sweep goes from 60 to 1.5. So there's plenty of range, and it's 18 dB, so it's plenty. So So that's all right. It's not, I don't think there's quite enough for it to chew on. You can definitely hear the difference though, adding those mids in. Let's see if we add a little wobble to the not the most inspiring beat so far, but let's see what we can do. We'll take our clock out. Let's clock one of these sequencers here. Instead of running the hi-hat through there, we'll save that for something else here. So again, tonight is really just me sort of exploring this thing. I haven't had a ton of time to play with it yet. I just built them over the course of the last couple days, and they really just sort of sprung to life this afternoon. So this is literally just me kind of exploring with them and seeing what different things sound like through them, because I haven't had a chance to patch everything through them yet to sort of get a feel for what they're going to do. thing. And if we turn it on, you can hear. That would be the... Well, it's getting EQ, but it's not overdriving. But with that overdrive... Oh boy, it sounds way different. It sounds so big, so juicy. This is switching now to a square wave. Even if we turn the resonance down. It just warps it in such interesting ways. So this is basically the clean signal that's going through. Oh yeah. There's a dump truck full of character in this thing. Just cut the mids out completely. Topic is for tonight. The topic is I built a couple DIY modules and I'm kind of excited to play with them, so I figured I would just stream it as I sort of explored them and learned a little bit about them. The modules I'm jamming with tonight are I call them channel drivers. They're sort of channel strip modules. They have a preamp at the input that has our the Pittsburgh clipping circuit that Michael and I have worked on for years and years at the beginning, so you can do some really nice clipping, soft clipping at the top to get that sort of fuzz sound out of it. And then you have a parametric EQ based off the old vintage Tascam M30 mixer, which I'm a huge fan of. And then you have an output. There's a second soft clipping stage at the end, so that even if you don't drive it with the preamp at the input, you can use the EQ to hit that drive. So it's really meant to scuff up perfect sounds and sort of add some character and warmth to things. But it's kind of a DIY project. There's no CV. There was really no way to add CV to this. So what that means is I'm not sure if the world really wants a eurorack module without CV. But I can tell you after playing with it now for a bit, it sounds really, really, really good. I'm not sure what it sounds like on the other end of YouTube, but here I'm very happy with it. Oh yeah, I can send a sine through it. This is a square wave right now. Sorry, that's my microphone making the noise. It's the house is loud today. So this would be clean sine coming through. And if we we'll kick out, just open the filter up, turn the resonance, everything off. So this would be everything sort of bypassed. And now we can go ahead. We could even leave it clean coming in and hit it on the way out with the EQ. So this is just boosting the low end. And now we can boost. We can hit it up here with the preamp as well and really warp it. Well, that sounds really nice. Second here, we pass that through. I have another filter. There we go. So let's take that overdriven sine wave and throw it through a low pass filter and see what we get. Add that envelope too. There we go. Add some saw back in. Yeah, I think that sounds good. This is turned into the bass show. Like running it post channel driver into the filter. Boy, that sounds really good. Just add all the low end in the world. That's why I sort of said this is probably not going to be put out as a module, as a standalone module, because there's really nothing in there to CV. The way that the circuitry works for the parametric EQ, the audio signal is involved sort of in the entire thing. So to CV it, you're going to end up just adding either Vactrols or VCAs all throughout it to try to get control over that. And ultimately, I don't think it's going to end up sounding as good because you're going to change the circuit quite a bit to do that. And it's going to kind of take on a life of its own. So because there's nothing that's really possible to CV, now I could certainly put a CV at the beginning or a VCA at the beginning to control the overdrive. But I thought, in the original drawing that I had for this, I had that built in because I thought, well, it has to have something voltage controlled. But as I sort of thought it through and sort of realized what it was doing, I felt like, well, that's just a VCA tacked onto the beginning. If you want to do that, you can certainly just run it through a VCA before you hit it, and you're going to get the same effect. So there's really, unfortunately, in this type of circuit, there's nothing that is voltage controllable naturally. You really have to bend and contort the circuits to the point where it's not the same thing to get it to do that. So for that reason, I just feel like it is what it is. I haven't mentioned the pink module at all, so you didn't miss anything. I've just been talking about the channel drivers. If my camera lens could focus well enough so you could actually see, read the labels, you would see that says 14 HP oscillator is the name of that module. Yeah, so I'm really happy with how this has turned out. So the low and mids are bells, and the top is a high shelf. This is going to find its way into a production standalone module, but I'm fairly certain it's going to find its way into a few of the projects that we're working on right now. these sort of one-off modules are really a way for us to test the circuitry for something we have sort of down the pipe that I would rather sort of work out the bugs in my test rig than have to sort of dig in and figure out the little problems when it's part of a larger system or a larger whatever it might end up being. So I have a bunch of these sort of one-off little modules coming out that are going to be in my system here in the upcoming weeks. I have we're working on today at the shop. Ross was putting together a phase shifter for me. We have a flanger that I should have in a few weeks. So all these sort of little 8 HP modules, I think they're gonna be kind of fun, but I don't suspect them. I don't suspect that they'll be available on their own. Yeah, the EQ in this is based on, I've said this a couple times, but I'm just sort of enamored with this mixer. It's based on the Tascam M30, which is just this fantastic late 70s Tascam mixer. It was marketed both as Tascam and Teak, and it's just, I've had one for years and years, and it has just the most musical EQ. But I didn't want to just clone it and put it behind a panel, so I did make a couple tweaks to it here and there just to try to bring out a little bit more life from it, and then throw the Pittsburgh preamp with the our soft clipping overdrive circuit at the beginning and another soft clipping overdrive circuit at the end, so you can really pulverize sounds. I think it worked out pretty well. Oh, Astrubit, you had that mixer, so you know how good those EQs sound. They're fantastic EQs. I'm a fan. I still have one. It's just the absolute, it's not the most useful layout for a mixer. Like, it doesn't, the way the auxes work and everything, it's early days, but it sounds so good. I can't part with it. I like to use it when I need flavor, but I guess now I have the flavor here. And we can clean it up, you can really hear what this thing was doing. So this is without all the drive. And the same with the kick. If I clean the kick up, good. There's so much. So this is clean going through with the kick drum. And because there's two different drive circuits in it, you can drive it with the preamp, which we're not doing right now. But instead we can just drive it with EQ. You can hear that soft clipper hit it, kick in, and it's got that fuzz sound to it. Boy, that's good. Happy with that. I'm very happy with that. This is a circuit that Herman's been bugging me for months. Ever since we started doing the the performances in my backyard, he's been bringing over this vintage mixer and sort of patching it up to get the overdrive sounds that he gets when we perform. And he's been saying, "Oh, dude, you should put this in a mix. You should put this in a module. This would be so great. This would be so great." And a few weeks ago, I had a few minutes, and I thought, okay, let me at least do a little research and see what I can get out of this. And within a couple days, I had the PCBs ordered, and I kind of knew in my head what it was going to sound like, but until you really hear something, you don't really know. So today was sort of the yesterday I put one together, but it had a couple issues because I read the schematic wrong originally, and I made a small mistake. But Michael Johnson helped me fix all that. So today was the first day I really heard it. And I heard it at the shop, but I was, you're busy, you're putting stuff together, and you're doing 1,000 other things in the shop. Perry's testing cascading delay networks, and everyone's sort of busy, so the shop is loud. So I didn't really get to hear it. So tonight, really, right now, is really the first time that I'm getting to enjoy this thing, and I'm so thrilled on how it sounds. I'm very excited. I think Herman is really gonna, when Herman starts putting his myriad of kick drums and percussion sounds through this, I think it's gonna sound really, really good. I should have told him I was live streaming right now because he's excited about this and he hasn't heard it yet. He could have tuned in to listen because he keeps texting me so clearly. He would have tuned in. I guess I could send him the link later on. Percussion. So I'm going to let's take this guy out and see what we get. It's just sort of a bit of percussion here. Turn the bass line off for a minute. We'll just use this guy. Whoa. That sounds pretty good. Let's see what we can get with the fourth channel here. The fourth channel, I think we are going to go into this pink module over here. Let's see what we can get out of this. Guys, another thing that I'm sort of experimenting with. See how it sounds. In this module, all of the knobs are backwards. Because that's what you want, right? I think so. that should probably run through the cascading delay. There we go. Oh, Yotis, I didn't actually talk about it at all. It's clearly the light. You can't read this because fuzzy, but it's clearly the Lifeforms 14 HP oscillator from Pittsburgh. Again, it's just sort of a thing that I'm sort of experimenting with, but it has some really, really unique and interesting features as far as oscillators go, and I dig it. Unfortunately, Yotis, I have to be a bit sketchy on the features on this one. But let's just say it's an oscillator, and I think it sounds really good. going through the channel driver at this point with that, that's just the way the SV1B sounds. It just sounds really good on its own. So it doesn't, it's not, what's going through the channel driver right now is the kick. And that's obviously slamming it here. You know, if we pull it back, that would be the clean-ish sound. But the whole point of tonight is to hit it and overdrive everything. So that's what we're going to do. oscillator, instead of using this envelope, we're going to run it through the dynamics controller here so we can pluck it. So let's patch the output of this guy into there. We'll open it up a bit. And then see if we can get the output of the, I don't have it. I'm running out of cables here. There we go. Alright, now we can take the output of our dynamics controller. That's low pass gate mode. We'll switch it now to filter mode, and it should open wide up. There we go. Today at the shop, Perry was working on the cascading delays, and whatever test patch he had come up with, it was so interesting sounding because it sounded like he was dropping a bag of marbles onto his desk, but only one of them was continuously bouncing. It's hard to describe, but it was absolutely fascinating. I think he had most of the delays really short, and then one longer one. But boy, it sounded really good. Wow, listen to that thing. Yeah. Listen to that. Now that is an oscillator. Wow. And that's just the output of this oscillator. Excuse me, just the output of this oscillator into the dynamics controller. Of course, it's going through the cascading delay, but that huge raw sound that you hear is all this guy. This oscillator, it will be available relatively soon. I'm not really supposed to talk about it too much, but boy, it sounds freaking good. The problem is I get excited about this stuff and I want to talk about it because this is the kind of stuff I'm playing with in the evenings, and I get yelled at. Which you think wouldn't happen because, you know, Pittsburgh Modular is my fine, but what are you going to do? I'm just going to keep playing with it. Hopefully you guys dig it. So good. Weird with it. This is the all output on the cascading delay network. That means it's giving me the output of all 4 delays. Keep an eye on the levels. You want to know how to quicken the response on Vactrol modules, like the low-pass gates. This is a low-pass gate module. It has a Vactrol in it. That is, if I turn all this down, the sound of the kick drum that we're listening to. We're using the Vactrol, or sort of plucking it. There's no audio going in, but I can certainly patch in. I can find a patch cable here. I can patch in patch in a sine wave. Let's turn our so there you can hear the Vactrol doing its thing. It's plucking it, and you can hear that ring. That's kind of the bummer with the Vactrol, is it has one length. The reason that they're all different is that the tolerances when you manufacture Vactrols are very loose, so there's no consistency from one to another. Sometimes you get them as super short, sometimes you get them they're super long. When module manufacturers and instrument manufacturers use them, what they typically do is buy a large batch of them and then test them all and find ones that are similar, and then those are the ones they use for the module. When we did our low pass gate with Vactrols in it, we tried to find ones that were around 350 milliseconds as far as decay, but there's no real way to change it. What you can do is patch out of this through a VCA or through a filter that's being hit with an envelope to shorten it. That'll certainly work, but there's no way to change the actual decay time of the Vactrol. It kind of is what it is. So if we turn this out, we go back with the resonance. You certainly can, like, we're using this as for a kick drum right now, and it's just plucking it, and it's just the resonance that's creating this. If you want to extend it, we can bring the frequency up. And do something like that. That's kind of obviously the opposite of what you asked, but that's about as variable as you can get with those things. They kind of do one thing. All that said, there is a solution. We've developed a circuit that emulates the Vactrol completely analog, and it allows you to change the decay time. So if I go back to this completely normal sound here, let me see if I can get this to maybe cool out a little bit here. So we'll go with this sound, because that's a nice sound. So the output of this oscillator right here is patched into what we call a dynamics controller. Now, a dynamics controller is a low-pass gate circuit. It has the low-pass filter, it has the VCA mode, and it has the both mode. And I know in previous videos I've talked about what the difference between those actually are and how both mode isn't really both mode. It's more of just like a very simple filter. But in this case, because we've emulated that Vactrol using analog circuitry, what we can do is you still have that pluck, but we can dial it in. So we can do nice and tight, or open it up. And it's going to have the exact same response curve and the same feel as a Vactrol, but it gives you a lot more flexibility in how you use it. Another nice thing about this is you can voltage control it. So if you want something that's sort of a little bit more fun, you can take the output of, we're taking the output of a sample and hold here just to add some random. And so that's going to give us sort of variable. And then you use the response as sort of the offset for that. So that's a nice way to do that. But actual low-pass gate circuits, no, they're kind of, the length is kind of what it is. Is it possible to ping the filter of the SV1B in the same way that you do with the low-pass gate to get a kick sound? No, it's not. The way that you can ping the low-pass gate or you can ping our dynamic impulse filter is specific to that circuit and kind of works on its own. If you ping the filter here, it's not going to give you the response, and actually the dynamic impulse filter has a response output, which is the actual output curve of the Vactrol circuit. And if you use that to control the filter cutoff, it ends up just sounding like a click, because the state variable filter core here, the response curve is very different. It just doesn't respond in the same way. So that's that. If we can, instead of using the random sample and hold, if we use the triangle, it'll make a little bit more sense. And again, sorry for the noise. That's my microphone, sort of bleeding through. Everything is overdriving today. That's the theme of the day. Oh no, nice Juice. Yeah. So what you can do with the dynamic impulse filter, you should be able to do everything with that you can do with a regular low-pass gate, but the low-pass gate has some limitations. That said, low-pass gates still sound really, really good. And if you find one that's the length that you want it to be, it's fantastic. I know this one I have, if I would pull it out and flip it over, I have a big sticker on the top of the panel, so I know that this is the one that I really like, because I have, 3 or 4 of them sort of floating around. But this is the one I'm a big fan of, so I have a sticker on here to remind me when I don't mix them up, so I know, okay, this is the one I want in my case. This also happens to be a handmade prototype from way back when we were testing it originally. I think it works out pretty good. I always try to use the unstable mode with hi-hats, and it never really does what I expect or want it to do. I just don't think there's enough signal there. That's all right. So I think this was a pretty good patch lab. I got to explore these guys a bit. Got to really hear the sort of breadth of what they can do. I gotta say, I'm really happy with the way these things sound. It's nice because it just cleans up so nice. And again, what we're listening to right now is the double helix. We're listening to the blade wave going through the wave folder and the low pass gate here. And the blade is being modulated with the LFO here. That's then passing directly through the channel driver, which right now I have sort of set to clean. But the whole point of tonight was to sort of test the drive of this thing. And the sort of fun different ways we can get it to overdrive. Again, there's two different drive circuits in here. There's the initial preamp drive circuit that has a nice clipping fuzz in it, and then the output as well. So if we bring the preamp way up, it starts to hit it right away, and then you can hit it with EQ because there's a second one at the output. And obviously if you change the wave shape of the wave folder, it's going to change what you get out of this guy. Trying out a new delay tonight as well, or a new reverb tonight as well. Most of the time when I do these, I use the same reverb every time. I use the Alesis MIDIverb 2 rack mount unit. I love it. It's you put it on patch 28 and you just go, and it's sort of dark and it's long, and I just love the way it sounds. But I only have one, and it's in my rack in my little setup here. So when Herman and I perform, I always have to use something else. So I have a bunch of other sort of old rack mount stuff of various quality. But the point with Herman is, like, it's so much to set up. I'm trying to slim down and get it simple. So I'm testing a new reverb tonight, and I can't get it up. It's the Strymon Blue Sky. I think it sounds really good. Yeah, I think it sounds pretty good. I haven't had a chance to tweak it too much, but I can get it long and dark. It's not too crazy. I think it sounds good. No juice. The channel driver doesn't have any CV. There's nothing to CV in it. It's probably not going to be a real mod. It's probably not going to be a production module. I'm really just testing the circuits for use in larger projects. And boy, am I happy with it. It really, really sounds good. I'm certainly not going to hesitate to add them to something. juice. That's funny. I was talking to Herman today, sort of explaining how this thing was coming along, and the first thing he said was, "Great, now you need to make it a 6-channel mixer so you can run percussion through it." Yeah, wouldn't that be fun? To whip the EQ up. It was really just one evening. I'd thought about it quite a bit leading up to that, but sort of the day before I did some research on the parametric EQ, but then once I kind of knew exactly what I wanted to do, it was just, a couple hours drawing up the schematic and then an evening laying it out on a PCB and drawing up a panel. It came together pretty fast. The circuitry behind the scenes isn't terribly complicated, so that said, the circuitry back there is definitely doing exactly what I want it to do. series modules. I'm a eurorack guy and a synthesizer guy, and that's kind of out of my area of interest. I'm not against it, it's just I don't have any experience with it. And, you know, I'd hate to put something together and realize there's 1,000 other things super similar out there. No, I had PCBs made, Jonas. It's not done on a proto board. I typically don't proto board very much. Nicol proto boards everything. By the time I get a circuit, the bits from him, everything's been tested. So a lot of what I do is sort of assemble the bits together. This was a bit more because we hadn't done the EQ circuit before, but I felt fairly confident because it was nearly an exact clone of the Tascam circuit that it was going to work. And the preamp and the soft clipping stuff that Michael and I have used that for years and years, and I just simply copied them. My can't remember exactly which module I copied them from. I think I took them from either the filter resonance circuit from here or the preamp circuit from here. Just copy and paste. That's the nice thing of sort of having a catalog of this stuff, is when you do come up with an idea, it's relatively fast to put it together. Does anybody have any other questions for me? I think I'm gonna call it a night. It was fun to get back and fun to do another patch lab and sort of hang out and talk about this stuff. It's been a while since I've been doing it, and the reason is I've been super busy. I know sort of at the beginning of quarantine, I kind of used the patch labs as almost therapy, but work kind of caught up with me, and just been absolutely crushed with projects. So trying to get through everything. I don't have a ton of time in the evenings to do this, but I'm committed to trying to do this as often as possible because it is super fun. And I think it's interesting for me just to sit around and play, because I think this sounds absolutely beautiful right now. Beta gain play a large role in the sound of a filter VCA? I don't know what beta gain is. Yeah, I miss doing the patch labs as well, but busy is good. I hope to, like I said, I hope to do these as often as I can, because they're super fun. But the projects I've been working on are really interesting projects, and sometimes it's difficult for me to kind of turn away. At the end of the night, I kind of just leave my desk at work and come home and sit at my desk here, and because I'm excited about it, I want to work on this stuff. And I know it seems like forever since we've put out anything. You know, obviously we did the SV1B, but we haven't announced anything crazy new in a while. And I know it feels like it's been a long time, you know, certainly since the Voltage Lab. But we have a ton of really, really cool stuff and a lot of really interesting, really exciting news for Pittsburgh Modular coming up in the next few months. So keep bearing with us, and I hope that you're going to be really, really happy with what I'm working on, because I'm really proud of this stuff, and this is sort of a glimpse into my mind right now with this guy and with this guy, and the other side of this stuff is a whole new world of really, really interesting things, and that makes me happy. Juice, we are working, actually, Ross at the shop today was working on a prototype PCBs for the original Pittsburgh filter. It's sort of our filter's sort of been evolving over the years, but the core of it's always the same. But we're always sort of adding bits and pieces that add to it instead of just, you know, fins. We were talking about fins at the shop today, where it's like, I don't want to add something just to add fins to it and say it's a new thing. For instance, this binary filter has the same exact core in it as the Flurler. The Flurler module is essentially the Pittsburgh module, except 6 HP minus a few features to make it fit 6 HP. But these two things, if you listen to them side by side, still sound exactly the same. The new stuff is going to be the same way. That Pittsburgh filter is in everything. It just, you know, it's obviously in the SV1B. It's not in the Voltage Lab, but it's certainly in a lot of the new projects that we're working on. So that filter is definitely never going anywhere. It was really important to us when we designed the filter initially that it was sort of a signature sound for us. We wanted a Pittsburgh sound. We wanted something that really represented what we felt that sound should be, because it's so important to being recognizable. And I wanted something that really spoke to me. So the Pittsburgh filter is absolutely here to stay, and that core sound is going to be in everything we do. I'm glad you like the 420. I am also a fan of the 420. I kind of wish it was like 4 HP wider, because then it would be exactly 16 by 9 and it would fit in the YouTube thing perfectly, but you know, what are you going to do? All right, any other questions? If not, I will talk to you guys very, very soon. I really appreciate you all hanging out. It makes these a lot more fun, and it certainly makes exploring modules like this, which I'm clearly excited about, but it makes it a lot more fun when I get to share that excitement with all you guys and get sort of excited about the feedback I hear, and it makes it all that much more fun. Oh, Yotis, you have an album coming out. Oh, that's awesome. You can't, I wish you could, where are you going to be able to get it? Because you can't paste a link in the chat, but tell everybody in the chat where it's going to be available, because your stuff's awesome. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'm going to shut it all down, and I think I'm going to call it a night. There it is one last time, the sweet, sweet. All right, thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. I will talk to you all later.